Hi everybody, my name's Amy here with Authentically Amy, and today we are going to tackle sewing curves. So if you've been wanting to learn to up your quilting and sewing game and start to tackle a curve, first of all, don't be scared. It's no more difficult than anything else you've ever sewn. We're just going to do a few things. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to shorten the stitch length on my machine. Normally I have it set for 2.5. I'm going to set mine down to 2. What that does is the stitches are a little bit smaller, a little bit closer together, easier to make a curve. Without feeling like it's jagged looking. So that's the first thing I do. Second thing I do is I make sure that my machine is in its needle down position. So every time I stop sewing, take my foot off the pedal, the needle is going to stay down. That's going to prevent the fabric from moving while I adjust anything that might need to be adjusted. Okay? So those are the only changes I'm going to make to my machine itself. Everything else is preparing. So first of all, cutting the curve, which I'll make another video about another day. But right now we're going to focus on basting. So taking and setting ourselves up for success. So we're going to get started here. You can either use pins, clips, glue, or nothing at all. You're going to see that I'm going to demonstrate mainly using pins. It's my favorite method, the most successful method I've used, and what feels most natural in my body. But you guys know I don't believe in rules, so you try out all the methods and see what works for you. Let's do this. All right, so here we are with our concave and our convex. The convex part of the curve is the pink, and the concave is this dark slate blue. We're going to take both pieces and fold them in half. You can use your finger to make a crease here. You can press it with an iron or use a little seam roller, whatever you have convenient. This is just creating a little registration point in the fabric so we can line these up. When you look at the two pieces of fabric side by side, it looks like they aren't going to match up, right? It looks like they aren't going to fit together, but I promise you they will. We're going to take the concave and flip it over, lining up that registration point and the edge of the fabric and securing that with a pin. Now you could choose to use glue here. Secure that with a dot of glue, Elmer's glue, Sew-Line glue sticks, whatever you have, and then work from the center towards the edge and glue the whole seam down, nice and flat. I prefer to not use the glue just because of the mess, but it's totally up to you. From here and starting in the center, we are slowly going to adjust the fabric to get it nice and flat and adjusted with the raw edges of the fabric together along the curve. The bias of the fabric, because the fact that we cut it on an angle and on a curve, is going to allow you to maneuver the fabric, bend the fabric, shape the fabric to meet the pink curve on the bottom. Take your time doing this. The more time and attention you put into making sure that it's laid out nicely, the less issues you'll have when you're sewing it together. This is why I prefer pins and why I prefer a plethora of pins. I know some people will only use 3 or 4 pins, and some people, like me, are a little pin crazy. But you do you, whatever works for you. Personally, I find that the fewer pins I use, the more issues I have at the sewing machine, where I might get more crinkles or creases or folds in the fabric that cause me to have to seam rip or adjust the fabric underneath the presser foot while I'm stitching. So, go ahead and try it a variety of ways, whether that's with glue, a few pins, a few clips, and then see what seems to work for you. But take your time on this step. The more time I take on this step, the easier the stitching will go. And that's what I'm looking for. Don't be in a hurry. Don't get frustrated. Just kind of find the zen in just pinning. Put on your favorite podcast, a TV show, music in the background that you're just happy to bop along to, or maybe even just FaceTime with a friend while you're doing this. I promise you, the more you do it, the easier it gets, the faster it goes. Having a pin cushion and really sharp pins help. I like these magic pins with the silicone handles. They're easy to handle and they're very sharp, so they go into the fabric very easily. There's nothing else special about them other than that, but I really do like them. Now your fabric should line up on both ends, and now you can see that it's pretty much ready to go. Now we're over at our sewing machine, and this is where I really just want you to take your time. So you'll see, I know it's kind of blurry on the actual stitches. Sorry about that. But you're just going to take your time to stitch. Go slowly around the curve. No pressure here. I stop and remove the pin, adjust the fabric if I need to, and you'll note that I'm really not making too many adjustments to the fabric itself. I'm slowly rotating the curve to meet the seam allowance in the pattern. Taking out the pin before it goes underneath the presser foot, just to prevent any issues with that needle and pin coming into a collision course. Take your time here. It's not a race. When we get to the end, we're going to cut our thread. And you'll see here that you have a really nice curve. Now we're going to bring that sewn curve over back to our pressing station. And before I start pressing, I like to take a pair of snips and snip along the curve seam allowance. Now this is optional. Some patterns request that you do it, others really don't care. I just find that when I snip this like little seam allowance, being careful not to cut through the stitches, but just snipping both layers of fabric, it will allow the fabric to lay smoother when I press it. So any of these little tips that help me along the way, I just take the extra time and the extra step to get it done. Putting it right side down, you'll see it looks a little creasy and funny. I promise you this is all going to iron out. Taking my hot iron, I'm going to press so that we're pressing towards the pink fabric, towards the curved piece. And you'll see where those little cuts are, it kind of releases that pressure on the curve, so if it needs to open up, it can. That's why I prefer to do that. Now you might notice there's like a little bit of a crease along that blue fabric at the top, a few teeny tiny little creases. One, most of those will press out when I use a little bit of spray starch here, which I do to just kind of set the curve. And two, those will not be noticeable at all once this is quilted. Just keep that in mind. This entire project is then going to be quilted. So one, most of the little creases that you might have seen before are gone, and two, they'll disappear when the project is quilted. You'll see the back lays nice and flat, the front lays nice and flat, and your curve is done. Congratulations! You've probably just sewed your first curved project. Now this works for half circles, it works for quarter circles, and various other curves along the way. The things that I'd like you to keep in mind is that when I'm stitching, I almost always stitch with the concave part. So that would be the pink piece of fabric in this particular instance on the bottom. And that's because this piece tends to be a little skinnier and we don't want it to get caught up in the feed dogs or anything underneath and get folded. We want to be able to see that piece of fabric the entire time to ensure that we're not getting any wrinkles or crinkles, okay? Now, you may say, what can I do with these kind of curves? And this is what I wanted to show you. This is the project I'm currently working on. This is the quilting book by Christina West and Casey Crutchfield. This came out in September of 2025. It's a great book. I just picked it up a few weeks ago, and I'm currently making the Happy Patch quilt, which looks like this. So it's really just a 9 patch in the center, surrounded by some curves. It's a great way for you to learn curves because you're just going to do the same shape over and over and over again. You're going to learn how to print the curve and then how to just stitch, 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 stitch. And once you've done it over and over again, your comfort level with curves is just going to increase. And then you have so many more opportunities of different patterns you can try once you have confidence with curves. So I highly encourage you to give this a try. You can follow me on any of my other social media channels that are linked in my bio for more content as I continue to put my Happy Patch quilt together. And if you have any questions or comments, just comment down below and I'd be happy to answer them for you. Good luck and have fun sewing some curves.